At this point, it's late summer 2019. I never really did get to explore the woods back behind the house. Before I could even get started, posted signs went up along the top of the hill. With only a little bit of the woods I own being all on a steep hillside, I didn't mess around up there very often. These strange things happening have caught my attention. Something didn't seem right, and that was causing my curiosity to grow. The thought that all of these weird little things are connected had not yet occurred. If someone would have told me what was actually happening back then, I would have thought they were crazy. After seeing them for myself, the Bigfoot, Sasquatch, giant hairy people, or whatever you want to call them, it seems crazy that I thought there might be raccoons hitting rocks together. The possibility of these beings never even crossed my mind. Completely oblivious that they even exist, I was thinking it had to be animals. What kind of animal sits there hitting rocks together all night? What kind of animal is even capable of hitting rocks together? Wanting to know what was going on, I started to investigate. The rock clacking sounds seemed to come from one spot on the hillside the most, so that is where I am going. Looking around the area, I'm not exactly sure what I am looking for. The amount of stone and the lack of bare dirt would make it tough to find tracks. Probably won't be able to find anything at all, but I have to try. The plan is to go over every inch of this small section and see what I can come up with. What I find right away are large flat stones, with a big rock either next to or on top of. The lighter colored or white marks on both the rock and the flat stone clearly showed that they had been hit together many times. The little chips that had broke off covering the ground around the large stone, like a dusting of coarse sand. The evidence of the rock-on-rock impact is not the only thing noticed. Scattered all over the ground, over the larger stones, and even smashed into the stone, are a couple hundred smashed nutshells. Obviously something is sitting up here cracking nuts with a rock. That is exactly what it sounded like too. Sometimes sounding muffled, when the nut in between prevented the rocks from directly hitting together. The random amount of impacts, from some being harder to crack than others. That much made total sense. The only thing is, there aren't any animals here in Pennsylvania that could do that. Something that is smart enough to use a rock as a tool, and it must be pretty strong. The smaller rocks being used as hammers have to be 5 to 10 pounds each. The rapid sessions we have been hearing and how it went on all night, it sounded like whatever was doing it did it effortlessly. The larger, flatter stones being used as anvils, each over 100 pounds, seem to have been placed there also. After flipping one over, I find a fern. Flattened and smashed from the weight of the stone, but it is still green. Something that would not be possible if the stone had always been there. The lack of sunlight under the rock would prevent vegetation from growing and turning green. It would have had to be growing first, then covered with the stone. Looking around more, I find 5 or 6 of these nut-cracking stations. From this spot on the hill, I can easily see down to the house. Overlooking the entire yard and the back porch, I can even see into a few of our windows. The way the light reflects off of the leaves on the trees, we can't see up into this area from the house at night. At this time of year, you can't even see up here during the day. Whatever it could be is not all that far out of the light in our yard, hidden in the shadows, possibly watching us without us being able to see them. Noticing a large, freshly broken tree limb laying on the ground beside me, I am reminded of the many loud snaps from branches being broken in this area. Next to every pile of smashed nutshells, a pile of brush. This brush did not grow out of the ground. It came from up in the trees. Every one of them on the downhill side. It looks like they have been placed there intentionally, as cover. Most are still green and had been done recently. Some are older and the leaves had turned brown. All of them situated between the nut-cracking rocks and the house. It would take something large, very powerful, and extremely intelligent to pull off all of that. Nothing like that exists in this part of the world, or so I thought. My mind not letting me see what I am looking at. I have no idea I am even looking at anything. Not knowing what is actually in these woods, their sign is invisible to me. Focused only on simple animal sign, I just thought it was a little weird, some strange coincidence, and that's all there was to it. The common wildlife taking advantage of some unusual storm damage. So far looking for the answer to what is making the rock clacking sound, I have only found more questions. As I rack my brain trying to come up with something, I continue investigating this part of the hillside. Slowly making my way along, examining every little detail. There is not a single discernible track, No animal droppings, no real evidence of what it could be. It's possible a black bear had broke the branches out of the trees. A bear could be responsible for the empty nutshells, but there would be more evidence left behind. There is no way a bear is making the clacking noise. The rock clacking sounded deliberate, like roofers hammering on a roof. Then, I find something else. On top of another large stone about the size of a basketball are some big green leaves laying together in the center of the stone, making something like a plate. Sitting in the center of this plate made out of leaves is, I don't even know, maybe a type of berry. I have never seen anything like them. A pile of about 8, they look like grape-sized watermelons. Getting tore up bad by mosquitoes, I pick up the leaf plate with the berry things and head down to the house. They look exactly like miniature watermelons, about an inch in diameter, light green with strips of dark green from end to end. I cut one of them in half. The inside is a bright red, with what looks like tiny little black seeds. This is very strange, so I have to show the wife and kids. Then I'll put them back where I found them, for whatever little animal made it. Knowing it is definitely odd, because any small animal that would gather food like that or arrange leaves into a sort of nest would have more than likely gone under the stone than on top of it. Inside of a hollow log or something, not out in the open. Later that evening, before calling it a night, we are sitting outside talking quietly. About 10 to 15 minutes pass when from out of nowhere, we hear a very loud crack, followed immediately with a loud bang. During the split second in between, it sounded like something was flying through the foliage. It was extremely loud on a quiet night. It sounded close, right up against the back of the house. Unexpected and startling, it scared the out of us. For whatever reason, I didn't think too much of it, forgetting about it almost immediately this first time. The next day, after getting home from work, we are all out in the yard. The kids are running around playing, the wife and I picking up some of the sticks laying close to the yard. Not wanting anyone to fall on one getting poked in the eye or something, we started throwing them in a pile on part of a downed tree. We had a decent-sized pile going before we decided to take the kids to get ice cream. Only going a few minutes down the road, we couldn't have been gone more than an hour. As soon as we got home, I noticed something was different. As soon as I got back in our yard, I can tell something changed. It takes a second to realize what it is. It's our stick pile about 30 yards away. That's what is different. Now there is a tree on top of it. An entire trunk of a tree is balancing on top of the sticks we had just piled up, without crushing or smashing them. What are the odds of that happening? A tree falling on the exact spot we randomly decide to pile the sticks. Happening within an hour of making the pile. Landing in a balanced position, without any sign of an impact. No storms rolled through this day, and there was hardly a breeze at all. What is really odd, I can't figure out where it could have fallen from. The branches of the trees that stretch out directly over the stick pile show nothing. Not one single broken twig or torn leaf. They look completely undisturbed. With such a large and heavy piece of wood, no animal or person could have possibly moved that thing. Once again, just an odd coincidence, not thinking much more about it. That feeling is soon about to change. After everything is all wrapped up for the night and before going to bed, I go sit outside to listen for the rock clacking. The second I close the door behind me, crack, bang, instantly remembering the same thing happening the night before. Again, it was very startling, and now it seems to be more than just a coincidence. Only a few minutes go by before it happens again. No longer funny, I am convinced someone is back there. Someone is in the woods, throwing stuff at the house. Our 2 dogs out here with us seem to notice the loud sound, but don't seem to notice anything up on the hill. Those 2 should be charging up there, barking their heads off right now. Surprisingly, both of them stay near the porch as I head up into the dark hillside. Only going in about as far as someone could have thrown from, I stand there listening. The woods are dead quiet, no insects or anything. I would be able to hear someone fleeing the area for sure, on a night this quiet. Maybe it wasn't a person, I don't know. The dogs don't seem concerned about it, they just want to go inside. So do I. After suddenly getting a very bad feeling,